Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a new episode of Great Books in 10 Minutes. By the end of this episode, you will know all that you need about William Shakespeare's most famous work, Hamlet. But before we start, please consider subscribing to our channel and support us by liking this video and sharing our content with your friends. Hamlet is considered to be the most performed play by Shakespeare both during his lifetime and after his death. It is among the most powerful works of literature and has inspired many writers through the ages. It's a story capable of endless retellings and adaptations, which has been both performed and filmed in numerous historical, modern, and fantastical settings by performers from every country and language. The main themes of Hamlet are betrayal, revenge, love, death, existential philosophy, power, and family. William Shakespeare is widely regarded as the greatest writer in the English language and the world's greatest dramatist. He is the national poet of England, proudly titled the Bard. His survived body of work includes 39 plays, 154 sonnets, and 3 long narrative poems. William Shakespeare was born and raised in Stratford-upon-Avon in Warwickshire, England. It is widely believed that he started his career as an actor and part owner of a theatre company in London called the Lord Chamberlain's Men. We don't know for sure when Shakespeare started his writing career, but contemporary records of performances prove that some of his plays were performed on the London stage by 1592. His early plays were mostly comedies and histories. He then mostly wrote tragedies, and by 1608 produced some of the most famous works ever written in this genre. Among them Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet, Othello, King Lear, and Macbeth. Towards the final years of his life, he tried his hand in tragicomedies and wrote such works as The Winter's Tale and The Tempest. Shakespeare continued acting in his own and other writers' plays in tandem with his successful writing career. Some of his contemporaries like Ben Jonson and John Davies of Hereford mention him acting as the ghost of Hamlet's father, Adam in As You Like It, the chorus in Henry V, and one of the principal cast members in Every Man in His Humor. Around the year 1613, when he was 49 years old, Shakespeare retired to Stratford and died 3 years later. The manner of his death is debated, but the most agreed upon version is narrated by a vicar, which mentions Shakespeare, Drayton, and Ben Jonson had a merry meeting, and it seems drank too hard, for Shakespeare died of a fever there contracted. The King of Denmark defeats the King of Norway in a battle, and the Norwegian throne falls to the Danes. Despite putting in place an infirm and weak brother of the deceased Norwegian king, the Danish crown is always fearful of an invasion by the Norwegian prince Fortinbras. A few years later, the Danish king dies mysteriously, and his brother Claudius hastily succeeds him and marries his widow Gertrude. Hamlet, Prince of Denmark, is informed by his trusted friend Horatio that a ghost resembling his late father, the king, appears at night over the ramparts of the royal castle. Hamlet, who is suspicious of his father's sudden passing and angry over her mother's quick remarriage, resolves to see it for himself. The next day at court, the new king Claudius and Gertrude discuss the affairs of the kingdom with their trusted advisor Polonius. Hamlet, who shows no interest in their work, gets scolded by King Claudius for his prolonged mourning over his father's death and is forbidden to return to his school in Wittenberg. At the same time, Claudius grants permission to Polonius' son Laertes to return to his studies in France. As Laertes prepares to leave for France, Polonius' daughter, Ophelia, admits her interest in Prince Hamlet, but both her brother and her father warn her against seeking Hamlet's attention and forbid her to respond to any of his romantic advances. At night, on the ramparts of the castle, the ghost of the deceased king appears to his son Hamlet and tells him that he was murdered by his brother Claudius and tasks him with avenging him. Shocked by this new information and doubtful of the ghost's honesty, Hamlet tells his friend Horatio that from now on he will put an antic disposition on and acts as if he has gone mad. Next, Ophelia goes to her father and tells him that Hamlet knocked on her door in the middle of the night, half-dressed and behaving erratically. Polonius believes that Hamlet has gone mad because of his love for Ophelia and decides to inform the king and queen about it. At the palace, the king and queen summon two of Hamlet's school friends and ask them to investigate the cause of Hamlet's strange behavior. At the same time, messengers bring the news that Prince Fortinbras of Norway will now attack Poland instead of Denmark, but still will march through Danish territory to get to Poland. Hamlet kindly receives his newly arrived friends, but soon realizes that they are there to spy on him. His friends tell Hamlet that as a gift they have brought with them a group of actors to perform for him and hopefully cheer him up. To determine the truth of the ghost's story, Hamlet plots to use the actors to stage a performance depicting a scene similar to murder of his father and observe the reaction of King Claudius to it. Next, Polonius forces his daughter Ophelia to return Hamlet's letters and invites the king to watch Hamlet's reaction to determine if love is truly the reason behind his madness. As Ophelia returns Hamlet's tokens of affection, the young prince accuses her of immodesty and urges her to go to a nunnery. Hamlet's behavior convinces Claudius that he is not mad for love, and there is another reason behind his strange behavior. Shortly after, everyone gathers to watch the play that Hamlet has organized. When seeing the actor king murdered by his rival pouring poison in his ear, Claudius suddenly leaves the court in a terrified manner, which gives Hamlet the proof of his uncle's guilt. On his way to visit his mother, Hamlet eavesdrops on Claudius and hears him talking to himself on his knees about the impossibility of repenting, since he still has possession of his stolen goods, his crown, and his wife. Hamlet decides not to kill his uncle, because he was praying and that would send Claudius to heaven and keep his father's ghost in purgatory forever. Hamlet and his mother argue ferociously. When the fight heats up, Gertrude, believing that his son wants to kill her, calls out for help. At the same time, Polonius, who was spying on the conversation from behind the tapestry, shouts for help too. Hamlet, believing that it is Claudius, stabs the person behind the curtain and kills Polonius. Enraged by his own mistake, Hamlet mercilessly insults his mother for her stupidity in regards to Claudius's treachery. At the same time, the ghost of his father appears and rebukes Hamlet for his harsh words. Unable to see or hear the ghost, Gertrude takes Hamlet's behavior and conversation with himself as further evidence of his madness. Meanwhile, Ophelia loses her mind over the death of her father and aimlessly wanders in the royal court like a ghost. At the same time, Laertes arrives from France, and Claudius convinces him that Hamlet is the only person responsible for his father's death and his sister's insanity. Therefore, he proposes a fencing match between Laertes and Hamlet, in which Laertes will be given a poison-tipped sword to injure Hamlet and take revenge. And if he fails to defeat Hamlet in the duel, Claudius will offer the prince poisoned wine and kill him. While plotting this, Gertrude enters and informs them that Ophelia has drowned. At Ophelia's funeral, Hamlet shows up and professes his love for her. As a result, a fight breaks out between Hamlet and Laertes. At the match, Hamlet leads the challenge by 2 hits to none and does well at first. Seeing his son winning, Gertrude raises a toast to him, drinking from the poisoned cup that was set aside for Hamlet. Gertrude collapses and, claiming that she has been poisoned, dies. At the same time, Laertes, realizing that Claudius's plot will be revealed, slashes Hamlet with his poisonous blade. In the fight that ensues, they switch swords and Hamlet wounds Laertes with his own poisoned weapon. In their dying moments, Laertes admits that he was fooled by Claudius. Hearing that, Hamlet attacks Claudius and kills him. In his last hour, as the poison takes effect in his body, Hamlet hears that the Norwegian prince Fortinbras is marching through the Danish territory to go to Poland. In his last breath, he names Fortinbras as his successor. Horatio, Hamlet's loyal friend, decides to commit suicide but is convinced by Hamlet to live on and tell his story. Hamlet then dies in Horatio's arms, proclaiming the rest is silence. Very well, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed my summary of Hamlet. Please consider subscribing to my channel and see you in the next video.